Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. Welcome back to the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast. Maraya Brown here, your women's health expert. I've received so much feedback from all of you from episode 44. Thank you. I've been loving the comments, loving the feedback. Really do appreciate it. It was an episode near and dear to my heart. And what's fascinating is a lot of people have been asking questions like, now, what is it that you do exactly? And if I wanted to come into your space, what would that look like? And so I just wanted to use this time to just actually tell you a little bit more about what I do in the world, who I serve, how I serve them, and for you to go, aha, that's really fascinating. Maybe there's my answer that I was looking for. Okay, so first of all, where am I in the social media world? You can find me here on the podcast, obviously. I also have a YouTube channel. If you haven't checked that out, find Maraya Brown. You're welcome to subscribe there. And then on Facebook is Maraya Brown, and on Instagram is _Maraya Brown, and Maraya is Maraya, right? All the stuff. Hopefully you've listened to some of the other episodes and you know that I have been attending births since 2000. I went to Yale and finished in 2007 for my nurse practitioner training. So I'm what's called a certified nurse midwife, which means I'm a nurse practitioner that specializes in OBGYN. And I've done some really fun international work in West Africa and Nicaragua and Haiti. Lived and worked in Hawaii for the first 8 years out of school and ran a federally funded clinic to run the women's health. So that was anything from a teen clinic to primary care, obstetric care, and obviously supporting women through every chapter of their female sexual health, and not just sexual health, but their physical well-being from adolescence through menopause and beyond. And then I became a mom. And I was also, so while we were in Hawaii, I was running the women's health. And then I was also attending births at a hospital called North Hawaii Community Hospital. For those of you that know the Big Island, I was up in Waimea for 8 years, and what a beautiful space to be attending births. And then I've also attended a number of home births as a second midwife. And then once I became a mom and I was breastfeeding and then had another baby, I now have 3 children. I'm recording this November of 2022, and I have 3 children. They're ages 10 and younger. I realized that I really wanted to be present as a mom. And so we moved back home to my hometown in Southern Oregon to be near my grandparents and my sister and my mom. And that's when my adrenals and thyroid crashed. I had my own health crisis that initially I didn't ask for help, and then I needed to ask for help and was introduced to the Institute of Functional Medicine, which ironically was founded by Dr. David Jones and Michael Stone in that group. And they're here out of Ashland, which ironically enough, Dr. David Jones is actually the physician that caught me when I was born. So here I am full circle. Love functional medicine. Since 2014, I've been doing a deep dive through IFM. And then I ran the women's health at a local functional medicine practice here in Ashland, Oregon, just working part-time. And along the way, there was this, well, what does it look like to be out in the virtual world? And I tried on a few versions and had some collaboration. Some of you may have known me and Missy in the world of Beyond the Red Tent. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And as I was vetting experts and products around the world, I was hearing of all these amazing women's health providers all around the world doing really cool work with women in the virtual space with online courses and programs. And I was like, okay, there it is. I want to do that. I don't necessarily know how. And so I hired a coach, and I had a mindset coach because all of the who am I stories showed up, and, steep learning curve. And of course, I've continued to pour into coaches, both from strategy as well as mindset. And that's just how I roll. And so the women that come into my space also really honor hiring support for our health, hiring support for our mindset, our well-being, our strategy, our business, and whatever it is that we're wanting to create. So now I have my mastermind program, which is a year-long program. I also have a couple evergreen courses. I'm going to tell you about each of these. I occasionally will do a VIP, like 1-day deep dive that I cap at 5 women, and that's virtual. I also host in-person women's retreats. And for the rare occasion, I'll offer up some of my one-on-one time with women. So let me talk a little bit about kind of the breadth of what those programs are, who they're for, who's leaning into my space. Maybe it's for you. Maybe it's for someone that you know. Okay. If you know of a woman who is around the age of 35 to 55 that is finding herself really struggling with exhaustion, sleep deprivation, irritability, changes in mood, not recognizing herself in the mirror, feeling unfulfilled, feeling like, what is my passion in the world? My libido is gone. I feel unfulfilled. I often hear, I feel trapped in my life, my career, and my body. And I can relate because I was at a chapter in my life at one point where I felt the same way. And many women come into my space that are driven. They're CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs. They're the game changers, the pioneers. They're stay-at-home moms that really are hungry for more. They want to feel spectacular. They're tired of feeling tired, waking up feeling toxic, all of that. And so the Women's Vibrancy Code is this podcast. It's also my signature program. So the Women's Vibrancy Code is a deep dive. It's for the woman who's really hungry, saying, I'm sick and tired of quick fixes. I don't want another prescription. I don't want more Band-Aid care. I want to really look under the hood and address personalized supplementation, personalized nutrition, personalized tests. I want to trust that it's not just my food, but it's also how I'm thinking and how I'm being and the community that I'm surrounding myself with and my relationship with my sexuality and old trauma, old patterns, old stories that are still impacting how I be in the world, how I prioritize myself. And so the Women's Vibrancy Code is that deep dive. It's a multidisciplinary team. There is a website portal with a plethora of content that is done in your own pace, as well as access to every recorded call since April of 2020. Wow, that's a lot. Plus, like I said, there's a multidisciplinary team that you have access to through group calls, one-on-one time. I'm covering the cost of your testing. It's a very, very intimate space. And like I said, it's a year long. That is by application only. And that starts at $28,000 for the year. I also, for some women that apply, it ends up being a better fit to come into my VIP program. So now rather than all the group calls, they want it all to be one-on-one. Okay. And that the pricing is much different. And once again, that's only application process. And anyone in the VIP program or the Women's Vibrancy Code automatically has access to the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator and Come Alive. And so let me tell you a little bit about the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator and Come Alive. This is fun. I've never really done a podcast like this where I just get to go, listen, here's what the possibilities are. Obviously, you can continue to listen to the podcast. You can chime into the YouTube channel. You can follow me on Facebook. You can send me a DM and email me, and my team are here to support you for whatever it is that you're longing for. Okay. The Women's Vibrancy Accelerator is like the just getting your toes in, right? Like I'm hungry for change from a hormonal standpoint. I want to start really changing my health. I'm tired. I'm not sleeping. It's very much for the woman who's age 35 to 55, kind of in that perimenopause, menopause chapter. And you want to really do a deep dive into your thyroid well-being and your adrenal well-being and your gut health, and start really looking at your sexuality and how you're thinking. So the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator is a self-paced course. You have access to the modules for an entire year, though I really see that as a 12-week course. And you get to do it in your own timing. There's no one-on-one time. There's no group calls. There's no testing, although you do have access to purchasing additional testing, purchasing additional one-on-one time. And so you have the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator modules to do in your own time, and you have access to those for a year. And then there's also a Facebook group where twice a month I have a live Q&A session, and that's for an hour. And so you can ask your questions in advance. You can be on the Facebook Live, and you can say, here, send to my, to the program coordinator, here are my most recent labs. Here's my question. Can Maraya go over this on the Q&A? Or you hop on and women ask questions from anything from what do I do for my wrinkles to I have a breast lump to how do I read my Dutch test to what thyroid test do I need to order? Why am I not sleeping well? Tell me about cellulite. I mean, it's literally like anything goes. Okay. And so that's the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator. Right now, when I'm recording that, that's only $2,000. So much different investment, but also very different in regard to how the information is relayed and how the support is relayed, right? It's really self-paced with live Q&A twice a month. Women experience all sorts of profound changes in the midst of that. Don't get me wrong, but it's like the beginning. If you're like, I'm not ready for a year-long deep dive. I'm not ready to invest in myself like that with time, energy, money, whatever it may be. All the who am I stories are raging. I've never prioritized myself in that way. And it just takes me over the edge. Listen, I want to say out loud, pushing you up against your comfort zone and a little beyond in my world is a good thing, because that's where growth happens, right? The degree to which we allow ourselves to feel a little bit uncomfortable really defines the degree to which we're willing to experience profound change and profound abundance. And if you're looking to feel energetic and spectacular and passionate and sleep well and have a strong sense of love and belonging and bringing in amazing relationships and love your work and all of that, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody's going to do it for you. It's not you go get your next antidepressant, in my opinion, or quick fix, right? It means you need to put some skin in the game, right? We get to do spectacular things and live spectacular lives, but also invest spectacularly with time, energy, and money in the things that we're wanting to create. Okay. That does not mean you have to work hard in order to feel spectacular. That does not mean that in order to bring in abundance financially means you have to work hard. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying you get to look the lioness in the mirror. And sometimes we say that we're wanting something, and then it's right there for us. And we come up with all the excuses of why it can't work. And really it's, am I actually ready? This thing I've been asking for, here it is. And here's my big girl panties. Am I ready to actually put them on? Okay. Now Come Alive is very different. Come Alive is, how do I describe Come Alive? What I hear from women that come into my space, particularly the Women's Vibrancy Code, is that they come alive. So Come Alive is a self-paced course, kind of like Women's Vibrancy Accelerator, but instead of all of the information around our health and our adrenals and our thyroid and what tests to order and what foods to eat and supplementation and that kind of thing, it's more focused on how do I be? How do I think? What does it feel like for me to really receive through a feminine, powerful receiving space? What if I do get quiet with what do I actually want? Like, what do I really want in my life, in my home, in my relationships, in my body? And what if it's all right there and the universe is abundant and I simply need to shift the way that I be and the way that I think and the energy with which I exist, and it can all be there for me to simply receive. Okay. So some of the things that I've heard from women that have taken the Come Alive course is they say, I've taken courses before where I learn the stuff, I watch the self-paced courses, and then I have to go put it all into action, and it takes time. And that is true for Come Alive. It's going to be new ways of thinking, thought-provoking ways of being, and you put those into action and watch how you come alive. But also simply the ingestion of the content, simply sitting and watching the modules, listening to them when you're out on a walk, doing laundry, doing dishes, on your lunch break, whatever it may be. Just consuming the content creates a transformation. And what women say is, I feel like I'm a new woman. I feel like the way that I see my world is transforming. How I express my emotions and my feminine power is transforming. Right? I'm starting to adjust how I see my rhythms in a 24-hour period, in a 28-day cycle, in a year, in a span of a lifetime. And how I be and prioritize and set boundaries is shifting. So that's what Come Alive is. And Come Alive, once again, is self-paced. You have access to it for a full year. My intention is for you to do the modules over 16 weeks. And so for those 16 weeks, you have access to the Facebook group where, once again, I'm doing 2 live Q&A calls a month that are an hour long each. And so as you're consuming the core modules, you can pop into the Facebook group and anything goes. You can ask any question. Tell me more about this XYZ concept or thing, or how did you do this? And do you have any suggestions for that? You can ask your questions in advance. You can be on the Facebook Live. We can have a real-time banter. Once again, even if you're in Come Alive and you have some labs, you're like, hey, I've got a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert here. I have these labs. Can you take a peek at them? You can still submit those labs and any question goes as you have access to the Q&A. So once again, for Women's Vibrancy Accelerator, you have access to the Q&A for 12 weeks. For Come Alive, you have access to the Q&A for 16 weeks. In both settings, you have access to the modules for an entire year. And then if you're in the big, profound, deep dive of Women's Vibrancy Code or my VIP programs, you then have access to all of it. Right? So if you're someone that really enjoys ingesting at your own pace and kind of doing it on your own with modules, you have all of that. For the women that are like, I don't want to be on group calls. My time is valuable. I'll pay whatever it takes. Give me the one-on-one support. Then we have all sorts of variations. And remember, for the Women's Vibrancy Code and the VIP women, that's a multidisciplinary team. I currently have a sexologist, a trauma release specialist, a functional dietitian, myself, and a mindset coach that are all there to support you, as well as the program coordinator. Okay, last couple of things is I do in-person retreats. So my next retreat is in March of 2023. That's in Southern Oregon. There are currently 2 spots left. And that is a 4-day, 3-night deep dive into co-creation. So it's spectacular women. Once again, that's by application only. I do handpick who's the right fit for that space. You come in, all you need to do is just arrive by plane or by car, and then everything else is cared for. Your food, your transportation, yoga, sound bath. I have a spa reserved. It's me and co-facilitators. And we really get in there to deepen relationships, deepen your sacred presence with yourself, get clear with what aspects of who you're being in the world and the way your life is playing out are not serving you. We have a way to let those go and then choose very deliberately what we're putting back on. And then we also do a deep dive into sensuality, sexuality, passion, so that the lioness is unleashed. And it's spectacular. The food, oh my goodness. The caterer for the March retreat, she's generally thrown around the country by billionaires, flown around the country by billionaires and celebrities. It's all locally grown, color rich, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, all the stuff, but flavor-filled and nutritious packed. And so you get to come in and have a luxurious culinary experience, but also see how eating healthy can look beautiful and taste beautiful. I definitely have had some foodies come to past retreats and they have said this is some of the best food I've eaten. Okay. And then there's the VIP day. So the VIP day is a 1-day deep dive. It's virtual and it's caps at 5 women. It's me and 1 or 2 of the other master coaches. You get to come in. It's usually like 9 to 4 Pacific with a lunch break. And we get in there to give you a very personalized roadmap. In collaboration, I think that particularly for women, the beauty of the Women's Vibrancy Code and the beauty of the VIP day is you get to do it collaboratively with other women. And we often benefit by hearing the questions other women ask and also to see and feel I'm not the only one. Okay. So that comes alive. It's a very safe container. And one of my gifts, I say that I midwife women through chapters of change, but one of my gifts is every woman that comes into my intimate space at some point or another will say this sentence: I've never said this out loud before. And for me, there's always that moment of there it is. We've arrived. We made it to this new space where you feel safe enough, you feel vulnerable enough. We've chiseled away at the walls enough where now you're really allowing yourself to be seen and allowing yourself to be felt. And that's when the real work happens. And so that's the VIP days, that's the retreats, that's the Women's Vibrancy Code. And you get to do it in the safety with a very intimate group of other women that are also hungry. Last thing I want to say is women come into my space, whether they're single, dating, married. I definitely do talk from a masculine, feminine perspective. I'm in a heterosexual marriage. I have been with women in the past. I'm not opposed to that. And so far, everyone that has been in my space leans towards being heterosexual. I'm looking forward to when that shifts, but I also just want to say that out loud. And then also for like, who is this not for? It really isn't for someone who's just looking for another prescription. That's really not how I function. I'm not showing up as your provider. I'm not going to be prescribing. I will help you find ways to subsidize and support if there's a prescription that you're on and you want to stay on it. Or if you're on a prescription that you would like to titrate or stop, I'm open to that. And it's in collaboration with the provider that you're seeing, but it really isn't for just like, give me a quick fix, give me a prescription kind of thing. And from a religious standpoint, I do want to say out loud, I grew up with a Jewish father, a Buddhist mother, a Christian stepmother. I have not had a bar mitzvah, but growing up, we celebrated the high holidays. I went to church as well and grew up on a Tibetan monastery at times in my life. At one point, my family was involved with Rajneesh and Osho, and I spent time out in Eastern Oregon on the commune. And so I've had a lot of exposure. I have read the Bible. I have been baptized during my undergraduate time in my life. And I definitely don't use the terminology of God or Jesus. I'm not necessarily someone who's going to be referencing biblical terminology. I'm also not opposed. And so I think for a woman who is really set in her any specific religious ways, it's good for you to know that for me, I'm going to use words like universe or our creator or our intuition. And when I say that, I have full reverence for all ways of thinking and being. I don't think that there's only one way. And I have absolute and complete love and trust for whatever your way is. And I think that that's really important for someone who's coming into my space as we talk about kind of who this isn't for. For the younger woman who's younger than 35, I have had those women come into the space, particularly they're wanting to go out into the world, build some confidence, change their skin, step out into the entrepreneurial world, because inevitably, particularly in the Women's Vibrancy Code, as we're addressing your health and your relationship and pulling back those layers of the onion, over a year's time, women will go, wow, I'm a completely different human being. And I have new confidence and there's things in the world I want to do. And so they change careers, they change jobs, they change homes. Sometimes they change relationships. And so for the younger woman, yes, I can help you with your PCOS. I've helped many women become pregnant, navigate pregnancy, postpartum. But for the most part, the women in my space tend to be between that like 35 to 55 age range. And so I will put the link down below to the Women's Vibrancy Accelerator as well as Come Alive. Those are courses that you can simply purchase. Okay, it's there for you. Say yes. I'm excited to embrace you. I'm excited to answer your questions in the Facebook group. I'm excited for you to go through your own transformation. And if, on the other hand, you're really hungry for a deep dive, to unleash the lioness, look her in the mirror, come alive as an entrepreneur. Oh, what I was saying is inevitably within the Women's Vibrancy Code, we not only address how you think and how you be in your health and your energy and your sleep and all of that, but many women end up asking me questions about their entrepreneurial endeavors. You know, I'm a multiple six-figure earner on my way to 7. I have a team. I've hired many coaches. I've invested heavily in my own coaches. And so I love to answer those questions and lift up other women who are wanting to do big and profound work in the world. And even if you're just saying, I don't know if I love my job. I don't know what my zone of genius is. I don't know what my passion in the world is. I don't know how to be different in my relationship. I don't know. Well, then those answers are also addressed, because within the Women's Vibrancy Code space, we have group calls. We have one-on-one time. There's also, I have an office hour every single week where women can come in and grab those 20-minute hot seats. And then obviously the VIP is just a whole nother level. So with that, the main thing I want you to know is you have lots of options. I'm here to support you. I love supporting you. The main thing I want is for you to just feel like you can come alive, that there's hope. Even if you feel like you have tried everything. You've tried all the diets, you've tried all the providers, you've tried the mindset coaches, you've been in therapy, you've tried the prescriptions. I want you to know that self-advocacy goes a really long way, and you are a beautiful, complex puzzle. And sometimes it's just the right team of people to come in and go, there's the last piece. And that's what was needed. And then voila, you start feeling spectacular. Your energy and your confidence are revived. You feel love. You attract abundance. The money comes. The friendships arrive. The belonging arrives. The energy feels spectacular throughout the day. Your libido comes back on. And then you get to come to me and say, I'm ready for more. What next? And we have the opportunity to celebrate your wins. Allow time and space for the plateau so that there's time and space to rest, digest, and assimilate, so you have a new normal. And then, yes, we get to take it up a notch and take it up to the next level. So hopefully some of that has left you, if nothing else, feeling inspired and hopeful again. I do promise you that there are still solutions, even if you feel like you've tried everything. And if you've been longing, but you didn't even know where to start, maybe this is your starting point. I will put the application down below if you'd like to apply for the Women's Vibrancy Code, a VIP day, the retreat, or to come into my VIP space. I do keep that very close and tight because I give a lot of my time. And for the VIP women, I make myself available via text, Facebook DM, and Voxer. So I cap that at 5 women. And the main thing is I just have the esteemed privilege to midwife you through chapters of change. As a midwife, I hold the container. I'm there to sit in the corner of the room knitting, knowing that your body is spectacular. And occasionally when you need me to swoop in and put my hands on you to let you know everything's okay. Check those fetal heart tones. Check whatever meds that you are longing for, if that's something you're longing for. And remember, I've attended births in hospitals and birthing centers and home settings. And I'm saying this not because you need to be pregnant, but because the energy is the same. I still have the esteemed privilege in my work to be the midwife because I hold the container and I see you in your pure exponential potential to be able to be triumphant and accomplish big things and feel spectacular And I'm here to hold that space for you with my arms wide open and a whole lot of love and a whole lot of passion for this work, because it really is what I was brought on this planet in this lifetime to do with absolute assurance. In every cell of my being, I know that to be true. So I look forward to hearing from you. I'll put the links in the show notes. And with that, thank you for following me here at the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast. Would love a review, would love a 5-star review. Leave your remarks. Obviously, subscribe, follow. See you over in YouTube and social media and all of the spaces. Until next time, ta-ta for now. Thanks for listening to the show today. I know you have lots of choices and live a very productive life, as we all do. I appreciate that you've allowed me to dive deep in your journey of feeling turned on by your life, your lover, and yourself. I trust you learned something, expanded your self-reflection, and you're grateful we shared this time together. Connect with me at www.thewomensvibrancycode.com or on all social media platforms and YouTube by searching for Maraya Brown, Maraya Brown. Lastly, if you've found value in what we chatted about in this episode, please consider leaving me a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. It helps others discover the podcast and get a feeling for the wonderful community we've all created together. As for now, I'm Maraya Brown, and you've been listening to the Women's Vibrancy Code.